You don't need it for backup just in case as a
Nope.
Backup.
Nope.
He's going to keep recording it.
I like backups.
Don't
When I
believe
take
in
photos, I record 2 cards at the same time.
it. You nerd. Do you shoot RAW plus JPEG, or do you...
Yes.
Okay.
I just about spit everywhere.
I saw that.
And stopping recording, and you said so.
And stop, because my machine's broken.
You're listening to the Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean-American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean, American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Welcome to episode 16 of the Janchi Show. I am one of your hosts, Patrick, and I'm here with my 2 other co-hosts, Nathan and KJ. What's going on, fellas?
Present.
Howdy.
I am here, and I am ready to rock. It is nighttime, my time zone. We just put up our Christmas tree, and our cat loves our Christmas tree, so you might hear some wife versus cat battling in the background for me.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
Basically. She's a real terror. She's gorgeous and is also so angry and so mean. So
That's a
Are you
classic
talking
cat
about
persona.
the cat or your wife?
oh, the cat. I mean, my wife is also gorgeous, but she's not mean.
Nice. Nicely done. All right, well, I can't think of a better way to kick off this episode than that, but Nathan, why
There's
don't
probably like
you...
1,000 different ways to kick off the episode.
We're going to kick it off this way. Nathan, why don't you share with our new listeners what Janchi means?
Sure. We took the word Janchi from a Dole Janchi, which was a first birthday party. So we consider Janchi to be party, celebration, feasting, and celebrating because we are Korean adoptees, and so we want to celebrate our Korean adoption heritage. And that is why we chose that name. So I hope you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today we are not gonna have a guest today. It's just gonna be it's just the Janchi boys hanging out. And
What?
after our 15th episode where we did have
Nathan,
all of our,
did nobody tell
a
you
lot
that
of
we
our-
weren't going to have a guest today?
No, I'm kidding. I'm assuming that's what everyone is listening is saying in their mind, like, what?
Yeah,
I mean,
Nathan
unless they saw
audience
the
surrogate.
title and they're like, hey, where's the guest?
There's no
No,
guest. It's
We're
just
gonna
you
put
guys.
special guest,
Oh my
but
gosh.
then it's just ourselves, so they don't know.
It'd be so boring.
We just thought it would be good after our 15th episode, where we had a lot of our previous guests on, to follow that up with a full-on reflections episode of kind of where we've been in the first quarter of our show.
We're going
And-
extremes. We're going from every one of our past guests to no guests.
one.
Yeah,
That's it.
We
That's
deal
an
in
extreme.
extremes: hot, cold,
Nothing in the middle.
very hot, very cold. You know, but none of that lukewarm. We don't do that.
There's hot, there's cold, there's very hot and very cold. There's extremely hot and extremely cold.
There's no
Nothing with
warm.
Nothing.
It's not a good joke. I'm going to cut that.
Okay, that's fine. I don't know. I guess I don't know where to begin.
Well, I think we
reflecting
should.
on the
Yeah,
show
we
so
should
far.
say that we're not only. It's not only that we've hit 15, which feels like I don't know. It feels like a decent milestone for us, but also we just finished National Adoption Awareness Month. By the time that you're listening to this, assuming that you're listening, relatively soon to when the episode drops, we just have entered December. So happy December! Wait, is that right? Actually,
Yes,
I don't even
it'll
know.
be the
if that's accurate.
2nd of December.
Okay. Yep. So.
Or it is the 2nd of December today.
Yeah. Or it's,
so
September
confused.
2021. So who
Time
knows?
loop.
That's a good point.
But yeah, so for us, we just finished up National Adoption Awareness Month, and being all 3 of us adoptees and doing a show about adoption, we felt like it was a good time to kind of reflect. And I think this is a good thing. So Patrick, you're the youngest journeyman on this kind of, I guess, what we call coming out of the fog. So let's say, can you explain really kind of quickly what coming out of the fog means?
So coming out of the fog for an adoptee is pretty much when you at an individual level first start either learning about adoption or understanding adoption outside of your own initial experience, I suppose. For transnational adoptees like ourselves, it can happen in a lot of different ways at a lot of different times. It's really your own personal journey, but it's the moment of reckoning with that adoptee identity and then I guess your first steps into that.
Yeah, that was great. So, Patrick, what has that, I guess, in our kind of conversations off air, this month has felt like a very big month just from my observing you and what you've been posting and what you've been talking about and things like that. So, let's start with you. What has this month been like? What has this journey been like? Is it accurate to say that you are coming out of the fog? Is this like your first time making that journey? Because I feel like it's a little bit different for me, but we'll get into that. Anyways, that was like 4 questions in one.
Is this the first time you guys both have even celebrated the National Adoption Month?
Yes, it
Yes.
was my first time. Yeah.
Okay.
Same, mine as well. I think that this month for me especially has really been my coming out of the fog moment. I think when I started on this journey, and even for this podcast, that was me coming out of the fog towards my Asian American identity, but not as an adoptee. And so I think everything leading up to November was me building up to now engaging adoptees versus Asian Americans. And this month has shown me, well, one, because I've finished reading a couple different books from Korean adoptees that had a big impact on just the way that I think about adoption and the way I think about adoptee identity as a collective thing and as an individual thing. And I mean, I can't say, when Glenn talks about when going to a conference and that being transformational, I think that's the feeling and the I guess that coming out of the fog journey that I've been on. It's been very transformational in a bunch of different aspects of my life.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how that it would be going to a conference, like you said, with so many adoptees, not just Asian Americans, but knowing that a majority of everyone there, or maybe everyone there, I guess, is an adoptee would be very surreal. I think it's something I only know, other than you guys. I think I know like 3 others, maybe.
Well, especially too, because this year of all years, it's a month where we're tackling all of this stuff virtually, and we can't meet together and congregate together and do stuff like that. And the thing is, I think it would be, just because at the tail end of this month, I've been, I think, a little bit overwhelmed with some of my emotions that I felt either sharing stuff or just dealing with it personally. And as much as I'm ready to go to a conference and wanting to do that, especially with you guys, it's also given me a little bit of pause and making me really want to reflect on the reasons I'm going on that journey and doing that, because I think it would be extremely overwhelming just going from engaging with the community online to being like, now I have to talk to you in person and shake your hand or bump elbows.
200.
Exactly. Like if we went to the ICA conference and there's, like freaking 4,000 adoptees there,
Oh my gosh.
like sensory overload. I don't even know what I would do.
Yeah, no, that, and I remember when I watched Dan's documentary, they broke them up into smaller groups when they first arrived. So they try to make it not as overwhelming, I think, but still, even if you're sitting in a group of 10 to 15, adoptees, it's still many more exponentially than you've ever been in the same room with. So. And I've been finding that out with just you guys in general, like the stories that we've told each other, the stories that we've heard. We've heard a lot of things that I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that, or I've heard of that, and I think I've said that a million times, or at least internally I've said that, where it's like, oh yeah, I do that, or that's so similar to something that I see or have done. Even looking at, by the way, Patrick, I looked at your Instagram recently, and I saw a picture of you. It must have been around Mother's Day, but it was you and your mom and your grandma.
Oh yeah.
But my first thought was, oh, who are these ladies?
Yeah, I 100% get that.
Because I did not expect, number one, your mom to be all tatted up, which was a surprise.
Is that true?
To me? Yeah, so that was the first surprise. And then the second one was just that, it's your mom and your grandma. I was like, both, they're silvery white hair too.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. And I don't know. It's, for me, it's something that I don't really think about, even though that's my life too. My mom's blonde,
right?
And so, it's funny that I'm seeing this now from an outside perspective and not just my own family perspective. So
Yeah, you know what's wild is I had that same experience when I went to a summer camp put on by my hospital for teenagers who had all like had hand surgeries. I call it my teenage hand camp. I don't know. I don't remember what it's originally called, but I remember seeing. Oh, dang! She does have a tattoo.
you just
Nice.
She's got a lot of tattoos,
Oh, that
and
looks
that
really
just
cool.
started like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh,
Is she on her way to a
that's-
sleeve?
Yeah, pretty much. She's
Nice.
probably
Wow.
she's probably got like a half sleeve. I would bet. I don't
What
know.
a baller. Okay.
Were you
Let's be
influenced
easy
at all?
with the praise.
Oh, really? Were you influenced at all from that? I mean, you have your own tattoos, so
Patrick.
Yeah, I started the
Mom
trend. Don't
has
get,
got
she gets
it
no credit for
going
that. I
on.
started it.
See, I
Patrick's
actually would have
mom.
expected it was the other way around, that your
Patrick
mom
had
had
No,
it,
come
so
on
and
my
then
mom-
you fell into it.
After school.
So just a quick background. My mom got that when she got her first tattoo for very sentimental reasons. And then
Wasn't like
from that
Vegas
point,
or Cancun spring break. or
it
something?
wasn't. It was not that. It was not that. It was very surprising when she did it. But yeah, it was for very personal reasons to her, and she just enjoyed the process. And now every time they travel somewhere, she'll get a tattoo in that city.
Wow.
And then do that. And they're super random, have no continuity. There's more Disney tattoos than anything, but there's no rhyme or reason. It's just
Perfect.
put that ink on me.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
All right, sorry,
My
Casey.
mom,
Okay,
by the
so
way, would be
anyways.
completely
Real
opposite
bad.
of that. She would never get a tattoo.
Patrick, can't you see? All
This is
right,
the fun.
anyways,
This is this is us. This is what we chat about.
That is that was good.
So yeah, so I Nathan, I was saying, I remember having that same experience. I go to this hand camp, and I went to hand camps when I was younger, but they were like kind of for families, you know. So it was like me and my parents and my younger sister, and then like I would go and meet, you know, other hand patients, but then like their families and whatever. And it had been in like 5 years or something since I had been to one, and I get there, and the first thing I see this girl playing with a balloon, just throwing it up in the air, keeping herself busy, you know, waiting for things to start. And my first thought was, "What's wrong with your hand?" Like, like I knew where I was going, I knew what I was getting myself into, but somehow seeing it, I was just like, "Wait, what?" You know what I mean? So I totally get that experience of, you know, here we are. 3 Asian dudes chatting, and then and even though we're talking about adoption, sometimes the optics of like, wait, that's your family is so striking, because you just, I don't know, like you don't think about it, and I think so that's, I think, what has been part of my journey this month. And I don't know that I celebrated or went down the same path that Patrick did. So from what you said, Patrick, it sounds like you self-racialized slightly before you self-identified as an adoptee. And for me, it was very much the opposite. Like, I always knew that I was an adoptee, and have recently been self-racializing. But I think, so I've been like giving myself more grace and more, I've been nicer to myself, and I've said, you are Korean enough. And I've stopped racially gatekeeping myself, because like a big byproduct of this show and hearing all of these stories that are so different, and so unique, from the people that we've had on the show to the people, you know, in the Side by Side project or whatever, is I have come to more fully understand that sense of loss and that the grief that ensues of like being totally cut off from your origin culture and your language and just everything, right? And so one of my friends here in Springfield, she posted about, just on her story, she was like, read this post in her story, and it was something about the Asian diaspora experience, and how that makes holidays difficult. And so I was like, well, I don't understand that, because like, I do have a family. It's my adopted family, but like I can go back to my grandparents or my great grandparents and know them and talk to them and whatever. But still, I also at the same time identified that with that, because I was like, well, if I met my birth family or if I met my birth grandparents or, you know, whatever, I wouldn't have really any means of communicating with them, besides maybe translation, but I wouldn't have the ability to really know them and to really see them and build a relationship with them in the same way that I would with someone even here in America. And so just reckoning with that sense of loss and that grief has been, I think, a big part of what I have been doing this month, which is quieter for me. But I've been able to talk to some other people, be on some other podcasts, write some articles and things. So that kind of out loud self-reflection that you're going through, has been really helpful for me and helpful to share with my wife. And I'll probably share it with my parents. And I think it's helpful, that kind of intentional writing and journaling and being able to express yourself helps you digest, as well as maybe give the people who love you a window into what you're going through and be like, oh man, I didn't even think about seeing it from this point of view, because it's new to us. How could they potentially know to look through that window anyways,
AJ, have you talked to your adopted sister at all about anything similar to these situations?
I have not. We aren't super close. Mm-hmm. So honestly, if I talk at all, it's just to say Happy Thanksgiving or Merry Christmas, or I'll see a picture and be like, hey, I miss you, Mm-hmm. But she just is fairly estranged. So it's an interesting thing. And the other thing too is I don't know that, from my perception of her, I don't know that she would be ready to have these conversations. And there are actually a number of transracial adoptees in my life who I want to call out to and be like, let's talk about this. I have this podcast and you'll understand. Except some of them are younger. Some of them are high school students or younger who go to my church. And I was like, you know what? I don't know that I can be excited about sharing my show with them, because I don't necessarily want to call them out of the fog. There is that type of blissful ignorance that I'm like, well, I want to be there for you, because when it slaps you across the face, it really hurts and it leaves you reeling. But also, nobody wants to get slapped in the face. Mm-hmm. So, maybe stay there and be okay with that for a while. And I think that's what makes this conversation and hanging out with other adoptees really difficult, is you have to be aware and conscious of, everyone is at a different spot on their journey, and it's not an easy journey. It's just kind of one that we're all forced on. So
they probably all do it at their own pace. I mean, that's
right,
the one
exactly.
thing I've noticed, that we've talked about, and that, we are exploring our own journeys, but we're not forcing it in a way, but we're forcing talking about it in a way, because we are on air. But I haven't, I don't say anything negative about, your sister not talking about it or wanting to talk about it, because I don't think my sister really talks about it that much. We've briefly talked about it in the past, little snippets, but we've never really sat down and had a deep conversation about, so how do you feel about being adopted and things like that. There could be all kinds of skeletons and things that could be brought up that I wouldn't be ready for myself. But yeah, so we've been definitely learning at different levels, and I think that's great for everybody. So, and you have to be inspired, I think, personally, by something to start that journey.
Very true.
So what's this month been like for you, Nathan?
Oh, sorry.
What's this month been like for you?
Well, as we started at the beginning, it's definitely something that I wasn't aware of as well that was a thing. And as far as going deep into it, I did not do any deep dives into National Adoption Month. I didn't really, I didn't read a book like you guys started. And
are you a dad or something?
Yeah,
you have kids that keep you busy.
My
your
reading level
Does your wife
is
need
very
help?
slow.
Oh yeah, right. Third grade level.
I bought
right?
the book and I read the cover. That's it.
You got the book. That's the first step.
Yeah,
so.
that was my first step. So my reading is very slow, but and it may actually have something to do with my astigmatism, but that's a whole other thing. I actually recently got glasses so that I can not get as tired when I look at the computer screen and things like that.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Because I never did. I used to always get tired when I would read, so I never read.
I
read
get
one
that.
chapter and fall asleep.
I get that. I can
Yeah.
read one page and fall asleep sometimes.
Okay.
If I'm laying down, I can't read anything. I'm just immediately asleep. So,
Yeah.
phone. If I'm reading something on my phone, it'll just fall out of my hand and hit me in the face.
Smack you in the face. That's the worst.
Yeah.
But so for me, I haven't done a whole lot of exploration into the actual month itself or what other people are doing. The show has been my main focus and just, seeing what everyone else is doing. And I think I'll probably dive into it a little more next year or just over this next year in general for us. I mean, why does it have to be 1 month of National Adoption Awareness, right? Why can't it be a
Dude,
year?
because white people.
So
We
I
don't
don't like
get
to
to
put
pick the
labels on
spots.
months. And so I just like to let it free flow. And when it comes to me,
Hashtag all months matter.
I'll look into it. But yeah, so I haven't really, thought much about it. I wanted to. I really did, and I do wish I had more time to jump into it a little more. So, yeah,
So
I'm
maybe-
a little more out of the research area of that.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't know that I haven't done any research beyond really listening to stories mostly on the show. So what's like a moment from our past guests or past shows or even, just Friday conversations? What's a moment that's really stood out to you that you feel like is really giving you something substantial to chew on as it relates to being adopted? And maybe it is nothing, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm really fascinated with more of the stories that came out of Glenn's website. I do want to dive into those stories because I listened to a few, and those two were very moving and emotional, and I was like, that's just 2 out of 100, and so I want to dive into more of those. And I mean, everyone, well, not everybody, but if you've watched my episode number 1 on our podcast, you know a little bit about my backstory, and my backstory is a good one. And I have a good relationship with my biological siblings, and so I have been talking with them. So I always had that kind of as a basis, and I know that there were bad stories, and so I never wanted to. I don't know. I didn't want to say, "Oh, there's only good stories and there's only bad stories." I know there's all range of different types of stories. And so I want to hear those. And that I think the more you listen to the stories on Glenn's, and I'm hoping there are more good stories out there. And I just want to listen and see what is out there, what people have talked about. And I don't want to label it with anything at the moment. So that makes sense.
So would you say that being exposed to Glenn's side-by-side project was like maybe a first step into thinking about adoption on a more, I'm going to say more systemic, not that it's entirely systemic, but like kind of on a broader scale than just like how it affects you personally?
Yes, definitely. More not, and I wouldn't even say just more of a negative way, but more of a
Just like kind of eye-opening.
overall.
yes, an eye-opening
Yeah.
overall that there are more stories than just looking for your family, and yes, you find them, or no, you don't. And so the fact that there's a wide spectrum of that is kind of eye-opening to me, and that's, I think, for me, I'm all about finding more information, more research, more information, and so that's why I want to listen to more of those and just soak it in. I will listen to those a lot quicker, like I said, than reading the book. And the fact that Glenn has that 30-minute documentary cut of his short film on there now.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, I
is
need to
pretty
watch
amazing.
that.
I need to
Shoot.
totally watch that. That's on my to-do list. And just watching his, I think what was his 10-minute one from the New York Times was pretty moving. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into those as well. So
You could chat with my mom about them. She's apparently been watching them. Only has 21 left. She said.
Wow.
Oh my
when
gosh.
I dropped food off, I was like,
Wow.
that is a lot that you've watched in a very short period of time.
Man.
So
it's amazing.
blasting through them.
Yeah.
Shout out
it's,
Cheryl Armstrong.
I mean, I want to give him credit
Cheryl.
for give
Slide
him
into my
credit for making
DMs.
them. Someone's seen them all multiple times, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Nathan, I have a question for you. It's based on kind of something that KJ was asking me about on my journey having self-racialized prior to accepting myself as like an adoptee, I guess, whereas he had done the opposite. I was wondering, and something that I grew up with, like I always knew I was adopted, but it was just until like we started doing this show and like this month where I really started referring to myself as an adoptee, and not just referring, but seeing myself as that. I'm wondering, because you have been on this journey a little bit longer than us, as me especially, Have you ever thought about yourself like in those terms? I don't know. I've never asked you that. Like, and I don't think we've ever really talked about adopted versus adoptee. I just thought that
I mean,
was like
yeah, we definitely don't talk about pronouns like that. I guess not that they're
yeah.
pronouns,
Yeah,
but like they're
not-
kind of
yeah.
the essentially they're pronouns, you know. So
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like if it means anything to label yourself adopted or adoptee or refer to yourself as that. But I just thought that was an interesting question, and I just wondered if you'd ever even thought about that as like something to think about.
Is something not something different. I've always thought of them as knowing that I was adopted and I am an adoptee. And like KJ has said before too, that I associated more with just being Asian American than being adopted Asian American, I guess. I mean, I would always say that because that would be definitely one of the conversations that would come up is why is my last name Nowak, or why are my parents white, things like that. So those topics did come up, but that was about it. That was the limit to it. I mean, back when I was younger, sure, you got the extra question is like, oh, do you want to go find your parents? Do you want to go back to Korea? Things like
Right,
that.
yeah.
But we're young at that point. I don't think it takes a certain type of person to jump into that exploration at a young age. So I always say that I think about it, at least that when you guys talk about coming in, into this journey later in your lives, I think that's appropriate. Actually, I mean, I don't know many people that have done it at 18, and hopefully we. KJ, you went back at 16.
I went back at like 12.
12 or something.
We will never know.
At some point, I
the
was-
year
Really
or
get the
age that you
accurate
went.
I'm gonna
back.
say I was barely pubescent.
We will never know. It's always a different age and year.
It's like I went back when I was like
he was
4.
9,
actually.
I think.
Yeah.
It keeps changing. It's a different
went back when I was
story every time
55.
we ask. Every time. But
Oh my
it's not
gosh.
many people, I think, that do search it at a young age. So it's been, I think, the way that we've done it, I think, is maybe more common. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find out more from the people that we talk to as we go along. We go, oh, this is
Yeah.
more people are searching later in their late 20s, right around 30.
Or like late 50s.
Yeah, I mean,
how
yeah.
it seemed to hit Glenn,
Glenn. Yeah. Like I said, my she's 3 years older than me, and she hasn't looked. So she's in her late 40s. So sorry, Amy.
I'll cut that out.
Keeping that in. Let's go right at the front of the episode.
Getting texts next week. Why did you? But yeah, so I haven't really thought of myself in a different way because of that. I've always just thought of myself as being adopted. So, and I've never thought of it as a negative thing too. I've always thought of it as a positive because of the upbringing I had with my family and the relationship that I have with them. So I've always thought of it definitely as a lucky thing. I even made a comment. I remember many years ago, we were with some family friends, and I don't know, the lottery was really, really, really high, and I kept saying, I buy a lottery ticket every once in a while. I'm a dreamer, whatever. It's Powerball. It's 300, 400 million, whatever. I'm gonna throw in a couple bucks, sure. So I remember saying, God dang, I wish I could win the lottery or something like that. And then, our parents' friends, they were like, you kind of already did.
Interesting.
And so, you never really think about it in that term, is that I in a way won the lottery of a family that was able to support me and give me the experiences and the life that I have now. So that is a form of a lottery.
Yeah, I don't know how that makes me feel.
I'm unpacking
My
that a
initial
little bit.
reaction was like, "Shut up, man!" Like,
Yeah, I
just
didn't like it
because
at first.
it's so interesting. So Sarah and I have talked about, like, just as kind of forever, have talked about me and adopting, like when I'm a dad, when I'm a parent, whatever, when I want to be a parent, would I adopt? When I was younger, I was like, yeah, of course. And now doing the show, I'm like, I don't know. Talking about adoption is a lot harder because of all the grief and the pain and the trauma and stuff. And even though obviously I back myself to be a loving parent, I was just like, oh man, this is tough. But I think where I landed was, once you're given up, the damage is already done.
Right.
And so then, like, yeah, in that sense, Nathan, like, the best you
Mhm.
can hope for is, yeah, that you get a loving family and, like, that, has whatever amount of privilege and, things like that make your life a little bit easier. But yeah, it's just like, I think just that gut reaction and my own sensitivity given the month and given the show and everything, I was like, what, how dare
I
just
know.
because you just like you bristle at it and like and
Yeah.
I get where they're coming from, but I was just like, ugh! And then I had to check myself and be like, wait, no, it's fine, I'm okay
Because you
with
look at it
They're
from
just
all
like,
aspects too. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to look at it from the direction of my biological parents, that they, at the time didn't have the finances to keep me,
Yeah.
and they had to give up their son, and their second son, no less. The one, it's a tough situation to think from their perspective. I mean, even when I met, my biological family, and my oldest sister was there, she was just crying when we first met nonstop, and I wonder if some of that was, coming from my parents always talking about it, or just some of her own feelings, because she was pregnant at the time, and couldn't help take care of me, because she had to take care of her own son. I don't know if why it was such a strong emotion for her at that time. And so things like that. Yeah. I mean, it's not just the lottery of, hey, I from my perspective, I was raised in a very nice family that if I hadn't been given up for adoption, I would have been in poverty. I would have been hungry. Who knows? I could have died. There are certain circumstances that could have been negative, but yeah, I know it's a weird comment, but at the same time, I see it as in a way of, yeah, I should appreciate at that point, like you said, what I have, what I happened, and it's too late. It is what it is. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say too, just real quickly off of that even though you are appreciative and you did end up in this good situation, doesn't erase any of that inherently laid trauma from being adopted in the first place. You know what I mean? And not that that's to place blame on anyone. I think one of the things that I've learned the most about, or just about the process of adoption and the things that go into it, I think that we have for so long as a community not had our own voices used to tell the adoption side of the story. As I said in a previous episode, adoptees are looked at, and this is all adoptees, as kind of these children who need help, and then that's all we'll ever be. Like when we turn 18, we're still, in the eyes of a lot of people, or, become adults, these children who were saved, so we should be grateful or whatever. It doesn't mean that you now have to think of it negatively and not be grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful that I got adopted into a good family. But I think something I've learned is that there's still stuff laid there, and you'll get to it, and you'll be able to unpack that and do that and approach that whenever you can. And I think and another thing that I learned is that the adoptee community is large outside of just Korean adoptees or whatever the case is. And there's a lot of people out there that offer great services, help, and, a voice or a shoulder or an ear to get through those things. And yeah, I think that, I don't know, when you initially said that comment, it just had me getting in these thoughts. And I agree with KJ, you got to check yourself a little bit, because a lot of people are not looking at adoption from the adoptee perspective. And hopefully that's something that we can either change or help to facilitate as we continue on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, that's why I think content creation for adoptees by adoptees is so important, because like no one else is going to know to look from this angle, because we ourselves are just now realizing, oh, we can look at it this way, from this point of view or whatever. So yeah, I just think that is so important. So Patrick, I want to swing back to the question that I asked Nathan, kind of reflecting back on the guests and the conversations that we've had. What was a particular standout moment in the conversations and the interactions that we have had? I'm going to say regarding to adoption, and also maybe beyond adoption, if you want to go that direction.
Yeah. So I think we might all say Glenn. I could just sit there and listen to Glenn talk forever, and I feel like everything that I think something that really stood out to me was when he first started to talk about his story to us, on his episode, and he talks about, and then he gets to the point where he went to the conference, and then how that just launched into all this other journey. I think that was really powerful because you don't use I mean, when you're being serious about a topic, you don't throw the word transformational out just willy nilly, you know. And I think when
Unless
he
you're
used
me.
that,
I might do that. I'm a very willy-nilly kind of guy.
So willy nilly.
I do like willy nilly. I will throw that about. But I think when he said that, I think it had a lot of weight for me, and that's something that's really stuck to me. And I've come back to that word a lot during this month, and especially reading these books that I've been reading and learning more. One of the, I don't know, I feel like we've had a lot of great guests. I really just like when Melody came on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go back to what I said. The reason why I thought our episode or our interview with her was so good is because for me, it was a very full circle moment of having just stumbled across Dear Asian Americans and then going on there to starting the show to having a guest that stumbled across the Janchi Show and then comes on the show. And you know, just that natural growth of community. That's a moment that really sticks out to me too. Just on a level of, you know, because I think especially with this month, I've been wondering about the impact that my words have and the reach that we're trying to get on Facebook or with the show. And I know I'm really trying to get away from the social validation. And I think that Melody's coming onto the show is so great because it's not social validation. I think it's more vindication for what we're doing. And
Absolutely.
like that moment there made me realize that I would just want to continue doing the show with you guys in whatever way that we can do it, because we are making an impact and leaving an impact. So just Melody's presence on the show, I'm saying, it's one of those things for me.
Definitely proved it. I really enjoyed that episode as well. The energy and just hearing her stories and knowing that we are reaching certain people.
Yeah, Melody, you were great. Come back anytime.
Yeah, sorry you weren't on the live one last week. Well,
Yeah, we'll
She's
definitely
busy
have you
being
on
a
again
nurse,
for sure.
saving people. So
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what
I
about
think,
you, KJ? Well, I guess you might be about to say. Never mind.
I think Melody's episode was a lot of fun because for me it really, like, including what you said, Patrick, it represented for me that we are hopefully doing something right, that we are having fun and that we are relatable. And, you know, like, I'm so excited about our Facebook group that people can join. And, like,
and what is
instead
that
of just
Facebook
like
group again?
instead of just talking into the void, they can hop onto the after party and be like, oh my gosh, did anybody else think this when I heard this part of the story, or like, that we don't have to wait to have somebody on the show to talk about that with us, or, you know, with any other person who listens, but that they can literally hop into the after party and just say, like, yo, when this moment happened, like, that blew my mind, or whatever, or our friends or our family, because we strive to be kind of lighthearted and just keep it fun, you know, and more casual.
Yes,
that
the
people
Facebook
maybe
group after
yeah.
party.
So you're just
This is the section where
Plugging
we have
it
an
so
ad,
hard.
right? This is the podcast ad part.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I think that just because, like, people can hopefully jump into those moments and find those relational aspects and just enter into those journeys. Like, I think for me, I've discovered that I kind of always want to be a doorway for people to graciously enter into a bit, kind of what can be an overwhelming community, you know, like, in the same way that that we talked about, you know, going and seeing 4,000 other Korean adoptees would be ridiculous, and, like, breathing the same air as them would be sensory
COVID.
overload.
No.
It would be so wild. Like, it's overwhelming for me as an adoptee, willingly going on this journey to find, like, 4 other Facebook groups where there
Right.
are, like, different variations of, we are Korean American adoptees in Missouri, or adoptees from Holt, or adoptees, or, you know, just like that. There are so many different flavors of that. So I just think, like, one of the big things that I've learned is representation is so important. And so, and it just helps you realize things and accept things about yourself, that, like, representation is a form of normalizing, you know. And so for us to just normalize our stories is really exciting. So so I was excited to have Melody on, just for the the way that she already felt like our friend, even though that was literally our first time meeting her, you know.
Yeah.
And that was like, this is the kind of community that I want to hang out with. These are the people that I want to hang out with. And there's this really beautiful thing that happened in me from Liat's episode to Glenn's episode, is they both talked about I could have been one of them, or like the whole heart behind naming his projects Side by Side, right? Was that like we are side by side in an orphanage with so many other people, you know, and that there are so many different possible outcomes. And so for Liat to go and be like, I literally could have been one of these kids, and so I'm going to give back to this community, is just astounding. And so now following Kum and seeing those pictures, my heart does things that I can't even put into words because it just gives me so many feels, you know, like good and tragic and wonderful and ecstatic and just like, yeah. So there's just a really kind of like, I think for me, the growing sense and the deepening sense of community for me has been one of the best things that's happened as a means of having people on the show and being able to interact with everyone, you know. So that's been really cool, and I guess that's adoptee kinship. But I think it's more than that, you know. Like there's just something deeper. So I'm really excited about that. That's been kind of the thing that across all of our guests that I've just been excited. Like, and Sujin said it too. I think she really started it. It was the moment when she said "we," and I realized that she was talking about the four of us. I was like, oh, now I feel seen like I've never felt seen before, you know. Yep. Like that somebody deeply understands me in a way that I thought only an infinite deity could understand me, you know. But like someone here on Earth who does technically breathe somewhat the same air as me, you know, and that we are all on the same planet at the same time together. Yeah, that was a really special moment. So that's the thing that I'm most grateful for all of our guests and being a part of this show.
That was great.
You're here.
So I wanted to transition just as a closing kind of wrapping up thing and transitioning to our food portion, but really quickly, what are the stories of adoption or feeling lost and then found, or you know, some quasi version of that you growing up or now found yourself drawn to in pop culture, if any? I just remember someone posted in one of the adoptee groups that I'm a part of a scene from An American Tale where I don't even remember the name.
Fievel?
But
Fievel?
No, Fievel's sister sings Somewhere Out There.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, this song absolutely moves me. Because, like, as adoptees, you're like, of course, someone's thinking of me and loving me tonight. And who knows, you know, how far away they are. But, like, so that was a moment for them in pop culture where they felt really seen. So, for y'all, what were your moments of quote-unquote adoption representation in pop culture, even though it might not have been actually adoption?
You want me to go?
Go ahead.
You got it. No, you got it. You got it.
I was just going to say that it's funny to think, as you make that mention to pop culture about adoption, how many adoption stories there are in pop culture that people don't realize. That it's an interesting thing that I don't know if we've talked about them here, and I was like, oh gosh, yeah, that is you know, Luke Skywalker, you know. He was adopted.
Oh my God! Yeah,
what the think of that one, right? Like
frick,
Hercules. I mean, you can go through all these stories and you start coming up with
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, I mean, these people are not. They're not their biological parents, and I'm sure there's a list somewhere that somebody has made. It's the internet, you know. There's probably a list of all these Disney movies or just pop culture movies in general that have to do with adoption. And that I think is waking me up. I'm not going to say I'm woke because I hate when people say that. I'm way too old to say that word.
No, you're not. We're not ageist on the show, bro.
All right. Yeah. Oh, thanks for calling me bro instead of boomer. But I'm still too young to be a boomer, though. That's okay. But I'm just realizing that there's a lot more adoption stories in pop culture than I ever really realized. So that, I guess, in a general form of answering your question is something that I've been now looking into and trying to pinpoint.
So I will say the show This Is Us, I guess, is a lot to do with that on ABC. And I've never watched it before, but I need to start watching it because I follow an account that breaks down all the like adoptee or adoption topics as they go through every episode. Pretty interesting. But I will say, Nathan, thank you for bringing up Luke Skywalker and Star Wars because I just had a conversation with KJ. Actually, I wrote about it in one of my posts, but I think something I had not really thought about for a long time, but was always there, was that in Star Wars canon, Jedi are not just born into this. You know, Jedi children who are sensitive to the Force are collected by Jedi and then brought to Coruscant or wherever the Jedi Temple was at the time and are trained to be Jedi. I wrote about Ahsoka Tano because she just had a live-action debut in The Mandalorian. And
Spoiler
she's one of
alert.
my... Ahsoka is my favorite...
bro. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, well, spoiler alert for The Mandalorian. That's the only thing. She shows up in the show. Anyways, my whole point is, so even beyond all of that, her story really resonates with me because not only she's my favorite character, but she comes from her whole journey through the Clone Wars and through Rebels. She goes from just really brash and, you know, like a teenager who's trying to learn and who's trying to find her way to becoming very competent and being able to do this, to then being betrayed by the Jedi and becoming very disillusioned with that. And I look at that as like when you come out of the fog, essentially. That's what that moment was for her when she came out of the fog to the way that the order operates. I think that I really resonated that with my own journey of coming out of the fog, because then it's now about how do you make this up on your own? Like, how do you go and be your own person and reclaim your identity? And that's what she does through the last season of Clone Wars, all through Rebels. That's like her whole thing until she has a huge climactic. Never mind, I won't spoil it because you need to go watch that show. It's amazing. But yes, I think in pop culture, especially because Star Wars is something that resonates across generations that we're all a part of, I think that's a key adoption story. I think that's something that really, really can resonate. And I think, yeah, I just think it's amazing to have never thought about it like that before. Such a huge property. And that's what the central basis is on, is about people finding their own way after being removed from their homes without asking. So I do want to run back and just apologize quickly to Nathan for dropping that. That's my bad. And anybody else that was listening. I usually spoiler alert before I say stuff, but I messed it up.
I was thinking like for me, I don't remember who I was talking to, but like the key adoption stories that I think of, probably just because I'm a young lover of Disney, is Hercules and Lilo and Stitch. And it makes me, on the one hand, it's like really funny that I identify as basically a demigod. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. That feels like a leg up.
It's a good label.
Yeah, exactly. But then on the other hand, like Lilo and Stitch, like that's an alien, you know? I'm like, oh man, he's a little better than a dog, you know? So I was like, well, that's a real, you talk about extremes. That's a real hot and cold moment to be like demigod or a little better than a dog. But the moment that always gets me in Lilo and Stitch is I think Stitch does something stupid and gets in a bunch of trouble. And Lilo is just like, Ohana means family. No, it's freaking Lilo and her sister. Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. And that just like, I remember specifically watching that when I was a camp counselor for a summer camp and just like bawling my eyes out because I so desperately needed to hear that at that moment. And I think really like continue to need to hear family means no one is left behind or forgotten, because it's like that is such an ideal, and I really love that, and that is certainly true of my family, and that's like a value that I want to uphold. But also, I guess somewhat naively, I still hope, you know, like that my birth family hasn't forgotten about me and hasn't just like moved on, you know. Like I don't know what my story is, and I may never have the opportunity to know. But that scene in Lilo and Stitch just really represents a lot, I think, for the best that I hope for, and the most romantic version of family. And so regardless of the trauma, and regardless of the, sadness around adoption, like that's still something that I want to cling to. And so I really am grateful that I have that as a moment to hold on to and can hopefully instill that in my kids. So yeah, I was going to make this, this is supposed to be a lighthearted transition, but here we are.
That was good. I think that's a great transition.
Yeah. We've talked about Disney, Star Wars.
I like it. Ohana means family, and family means no one gets left behind. Yeah. I think it's a perfect transition.
Or forgotten.
I think it's true.
Or forgotten. Sorry.
All right. Time for a snack.
Snack time. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Janchi Show eating portion.
Pew, pew, pew.
Oh, crackers.
Chop.
Or something. I don't know what it is. I can't read it. It looks like sesame sticks.
Guys, we're back into a new one of Jerry's mystery boxes.
I don't like it when you say we're in Jerry's mystery box.
Why? Why don't you like it?
Let's mix that up with something else.
I love it. I love how I don't know why it makes you uncomfortable, but I love how uncomfortable it makes you. So I'm gonna keep saying it forever. Jerry's mystery box.
Into his mystery box.
He didn't actually give us a number because none of them were numbered. So we just picked one and said, hope we all got the same one. So it's okay, though. It's all in Korean, so we have no idea what we're eating.
No clue.
So today we're eating a Haitai product. The Korean says matdongsan, and after some quick internet sleuthing, we realized it's peanut crunch snack, big size. Well, actually, I don't know if it's big size, but that's what H Mart says. But matdonsang is peanut crunch snack, which I don't know. Just jumping into the packaging. I love that there's such a celebratory.
It's a new word.
Yeah, no, it's the right word. It's
pretty close.
Absolutely the wrong pronunciation.
Okay.
I love how celebratory this feels. I almost did it again. Frick. But I don't like this present. Weird character on the back.
Like a little present at the top. It's like pinched.
Which
at the
one?
top with something else.
This weird baby looking.
Oh. Yeah.
It looks like Bam Bam kind of.
Bam.
Animal of some sort. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah. So
animal.
Yeah, I'm excited because I do think the packaging makes it look like sesame sticks, and I do like sesame sticks. So if it has any of that in it, I'll be happy.
Okay. So right next to the little kid, the little baby on the front, it looks like it looks like the Korean said, I don't know what moko, but it says julkon party. So some type of corn party.
Corn party.
Classic.
What he's saying. I'm assuming it's kon party. So yeah, Haitai. Oh, and then also we discovered that the yellow text above the main text, part of it said kosohan, which thanks to Minju we know means sesame flavor.
Cool.
So let's jump into it, yeah?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one.
I don't know how to open
a lactose bacillus.
It's got a twisty tie.
Yeah, the twisty tie was interesting. It was like a present.
This packaging, no good.
Well, you fell into the ploy of opening it like that.
I did fall for it really badly. Ruin the box. These are a little oily.
Packaging not as easy as I expected. Items larger than I expected.
What?
Uh-oh.
Wait, I can smell them.
Yeah, I don't like this packaging. I'm just going to use
a little bit oily.
Whoa! This is wild.
These are bigger good. Than I expected. Look how big that is.
Oh my god, I'm
gonna eat all these. Talk about
you
the
fools.
Inside of this. You fools! You picked a bad way to do intermittent fasting. Look at how greasy and gross this.
They are good.
Looks. I'm not ready to
one, and then
reach
you
my
be
finger
breaking
in.
your diet.
Right, I've already had 4.
I took my ring off. I don't like to get my ring dirty. Here we go.
It is It is coated or glazed with almost like a, I don't know, like some sort of sweet honeyish kind of.
It's like a donut. It's basically a donut
Yeah.
with more crunch to it.
I don't love it. And I will say, though, hate me for it all you want. I don't love peanut butter flavored things. It's fine. You know? I'm not like crazy about it, though.
I think you have to be
peanut
raised
butter.
on that. Like a lot of people don't like it. Like both my kids don't like it. One of them's allergic to it, so and the other one doesn't really like it. So who knows? They may grow up never liking peanut butter.
I like donuts.
I love peanut brittle, however. I wouldn't say I was raised on it, but I had it a lot, I feel. And so this kind of reminds me of peanut brittle in a stick form, but not as sweet. Like, because peanut brittle is really firm, like full on, like sugar. Whereas this is kind of more of like a, I don't know, some sort of like a little mini cracker coated in peanut brittle. If that makes sense.
I just got like a very savory finish. So I think that's probably the kosohan coming in because it is mildly reminiscent of the kosomi crackers. So yeah, okay. All right, I'm into this.
I think I like these better than the crackers.
No way.
Yeah, these are good.
The kosomi, you like these better than kosomi?
Yep.
Crazy.
Wow.
No,
The Mat Dong Song.
I'm not going to say that.
Yep.
Now you just got to learn how to say it. Matong-san.
Mat Dong Song.
However, the package was
Am I
not easy
saying it
to
right?
open.
I can't hear you over the crunching
the
of my own
package.
mouth, so
Good,
we'll talk
good.
off air.
Good.
If you look at it in English, so H Mart just has it as Mat Dong San. If you were to read it as deeply American, but that's wrong. Mat Dong San.
Mat Dong Song.
So I don't know if corn party makes sense. Oh wait, there's an ingredients list here. So
bam.
look, it's in freaking English.
Bam.
Man. Okay. Corn syrup, egg white
Crunchy.
liquid. What the heck is egg white liquid?
I know, I was like,
Sweetened condensed milk. There's not any corn listed.
no.
So it's
The last thing
probably-
is lactobacillus, which is interesting.
What is that?
Makes me think it's got some probiotics in it.
Nice. Anything to help that gut, baby.
Maybe. I also find it amusing when they say mixed edible oil. Thank you for clarifying that it's edible.
All right, my jaw hurts now from eating too many of these.
Your
Your jaw hurts.
Okay, great.
Ow.
So
Ow.
let's get into our ratings. Nathan, you go first, man.
One of 5 Bam Bams. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it a solid 3.5.
I thought you were saying 1 of 5. Not
I know,
sorry,
I thought he
sorry,
was giving it a
5.
1.
I was like,
One-
wow.
Yeah, sorry.
A 1.
I'm giving it how many Bam Bams in a
No.
scale from 1 to 5? I give it a 3.5. I do like it, but I don't like it as much as the Kosamui crackers. So sorry, I can't agree with you there, Patrick. I do like the crunch. I don't like the packaging and how hard that was actually to open. And it has like that residual peanut taste in my mouth, which I don't know. If you really love peanuts, then it's probably not that big of a deal. But I don't feel like I don't feel like I could eat the whole bag right sitting right here.
So 3.5 out of 5, you said?
Yep, 3.5 out of 5 for me.
I think mine might be 3.5 too. I really like them, and normally that would take the rating because I said above the Kosamui cracker, but my jaw hurts.
Yeah, is your
That's
your
what I've been
mouth
doing,
bleeding or
like,
something? The way
maybe.
you're
Yeah, it hurts real
you're,
bad. Like I ate too many of
interacting.
these.
You're
I'm
eating
trying
your
to
microphone
stretch.
right now.
I'm trying to stretch my mouth out.
Stretching your mouth out. Wow.
It feels a little bit better. I like the
sorry
taste. Tastes so good.
YouTube watchers.
Tastes like a bunch of donuts just went into my mouth. But
I think
At
it
a
just
party and
leaked on
ripped
my
up your
computer.
teeth.
one of the things that definitely knocked it for me was the packaging. Too difficult to open.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just dealing with this jaw issue now. So I'm gonna stick maybe 3.5
Maybe you
for
need to
now.
go get
It
a
might bump
tetanus
down.
shot or something.
Tomorrow when I wake up, I'll let you know if I've amended my rating.
You have lockjaw.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna give it a 3. I like the music notes up top. I think that's cute.
You music nerd.
That's about it for the packaging with y'all. But I will say I just gave up and just used scissors. So
That
because
should
I
knock it
had
more.
my 2 older brothers to go before me, I was able to be smarter about it, and now it's really clean. So that's nice.
Well,
But I don't love how, like I said, it's just kind of, it looks real sticky and gross up in this packaging, and I hate having dirty hands or like sticky fingers or anything like that. So that's like Doritos are my one exception, honestly.
Yeah.
So not a huge fan of that. The flavor is acceptable. It's not so amazing that I would go seek it out, but it's not bad enough that I would stop. And that like savory finish really kind of keeps me coming back. So I do like that.
yeah, like I said, I feel like it's like a stick form of peanut brittle, but not as sweet.
It's hollow on the inside. Isn't peanut
Yeah,
peanut
so
brittle
it's-
kind of dense?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a less form of peanut brittle, like a lighter peanut brittle. So
I guess it's not hollow, but it does
yeah.
kind of have some business here.
Yep.
Trying to get my camera.
But so if you love peanut brittle, this could be your snack of choice. But
Man, I kind of want to eat the rest of them, but my jaw is just hurt.
don't do it. It's not worth it.
don't do it, intermittent fasting boy.
I know, I already broke it. I might
Let
as
the
well.
Janchi boy be your downfall.
I might as well do it. I've already broke the seal.
Oh, it's a slippery slope, man.
Oh!
Next you'll be
That was me
next you'll be
slipping down
eating
the
a
slope.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then a burrito, and then a full pizza.
Wow.
That does sound like a progression I would take, so
He
that
is
makes
eating
sense.
like a true Gilmore Girl if he does that.
That's funny.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. You can find us in all the places that we want to be found at Janchi Show. Send us an email to janchishow@justLikemedia.com. Please hang out with us in our new Facebook group. It is the Janchi Show After Party. You can Google it, you can search it, you can find it however, or you can probably just find it by going to janchishow.com. Baby.
The website is up.
We're very excited about that. We'll have some extra content, some written content and things where if you like kind of the tone of this show, first let us know. But also you can probably find more of that in our website and some other things. We're excited about what that is going to look like moving forward. So hang out with us in the after party, and we'll see you next week.
Want to do you didn't do our personal handles.
Oh yeah, I didn't. You can find me at KJ Rocky.
You find me at No Walk Photo. It's so silent.
You can find me at Patrick in the World, but also I really do want to do a real plug. Please go follow.
Okay, great.
Please go follow my nonprofit organization. All Times Are Local. We were about to start, or yesterday, I guess, on the 2nd, we launched our December fundraiser. It's to help us expand our Phones for Fosters program that we run in Chicago. So go there, check that out, donate if you can, but find out kind of what we do, and I would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, so all you nerds with iPhone 11s, give them to Patrick
Yes,
when you
please.
get your iPhone 12.
Mm-hmm. You can also
Please.
switch over your Amazon charity to All Times Are Local.
Ooh, thank you,
as
Nathan.
well,
Yes,
which
you
I
can
did.
find a link.
So everything I buy, which is almost every day,
Dang, dude, thank you.
everything
I
has been
appreciate
going
that.
toward you. So, yep.
I generated about $12 last year, or we did from Amazon Smile, so that works.
You'll get $12
That's good
just
enough.
from me.
I appreciate it, all of it. So, thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us, everyone for watching and listening. So we'll see you next week.
See you on the
Janchi
flip.
Heyo, we out.
Yo!